Before we jump into this episode, I want to take a moment to tell you about the upcoming Texas Woodworking Festival, a 2-day celebration where makers and enthusiasts come together to share their passion for the craft. Join us for a weekend filled with creativity, community, and inspiration. You'll meet tool manufacturers, furniture makers, woodworking clubs, content creators, and more, all in one place with great food and drinks, and of course, all things woodworking. It all takes place in Austin, Texas on September 13th and 14th. The festival features an educational track on Saturday and Sunday, plus a special pre-conference content creator track on Friday, September 12th. There you'll have a chance to learn from masters of the craft like Gary Rogowski, Matt Kinney, Andy Rawls, and Kate Casey, just to name a few. Head to the TexasWoodworkingFestival.com for more details and to grab your tickets. Use the code MWA25 to get 10% off your tickets. I'll drop a link in the show notes. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, there's something for everyone at the Texas Woodworking Festival. Don't miss it. Hi, I'm Kyle, and on this episode of the MWA podcast, Brian and I are asking Zack Fealk the 5 questions. And if you haven't already, be sure to check out his interview on episode 561. And yes, Zack, I saw your name and went, oh yeah, it's F with the elk. Yes.
That's right. That's right.
Phonetic.
So welcome back to the show, Zack.
Thank you.
Well, before we get to the 5 questions, let's dip our toes in the woodworking news. And first off, I do want to mention again that the Sam Buford Woodworking Institute has a birdcage side chair class coming up. So the class, this is a unique chair, and it's something that, if you're into Windsors, there's very few. In fact, this is the only time I've ever seen someone actually teach a birdcage chair. And so this is kind of special, and it's a 5-day class. It starts Friday, July 28th, or it's Monday through Friday, starting on July 28th through August 1st of 2025. So if you interested in that, please check the show notes and get there. But if you're into Windsors, I'm sure you're into the birdcage chair, and if you want to learn how to make one, this is your perfect opportunity.
I heard that's a wild glue up, the birdcage.
Yeah. I've never seen him even build one in the shop since I've been there. So
Wow.
I'm eager to see it come together too. And I've seen them come in and out, but nothing. So I'm as eager as you are, really.
I'm hearing the stories from when Curtis Buchanan was teaching it, that it was like the most stressful glue up on the planet for a chair.
So, well, Luke has a way of always sort of figuring it out and problem solving on the fly.
Well, cool. Yeah. I wish I could take that class. That looks so interesting. With that, next up, Woodpeckers, believe it or not, has a new setup square with stops and a caliper head on it. And this is kind of an interesting tool, I guess, but it's just like, how many of these do they make in other forms?
Why?
I don't know.
They call it the Swiss Army knife.
It kind of is. I'm one of those, I don't like multitasking tools. I like tools to do one thing and one thing only. And this is definitely a multitasker. I guess if you were just starting off and you needed all these stuff, it's not too bad of a price. It's an introductory price anyways, $120. So with all the functionality you're getting, but still.
I'm sure it's well built. Everything they make is well built. But it just, first impression was like, we have all these parts lying around. What can we do with it? And they just threw them together. Yeah.
Basically, it's kind of like a mini, I guess, carpenter square with a caliper head that you can use to set height on the short leg of the square. And then on the long leg of the square, it also has some little feet, I think. Yeah, that you can put on it to make it stand up. And then you can also put those little feet things, and they actually become stops on the square. So you can, register from the end of the square to make a line or something at a certain distance. So, they're all kind of nice features, but to have them all in one thing, I think it might get a little weird trying to manipulate that around your project and whatever you're trying to mark and adjust. Yes.
By the time you set that up, you could have grabbed a dedicated tool.
Yeah.
Knocked it out and moved it on. But I don't know. if you are a gadgety kind of person, maybe this would be for you. I don't know. This would not get my dollars though.
Yeah, I think we've rendered our verdict there. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's kind of something. But anyway, but we appreciate woodpeckers, and they always have something for us to talk about. So that's always nice. That's always nice. Well, let's give our patrons a thanks. So who do we have to thank this week?
Sure. A big thanks as always to our Patreon supporters. Today we're giving a big shout out to Garrett Roberson, a good friend of the show here. If you, dear listener, would like to support the MWA podcast, you can go to patreon.com/MWA podcast, and you can pick your level of support. Even as simple as $1, we would very much appreciate it, as it helps us support the show.
Yes. Thanks so much, Garrett. So let's move on to the 5 questions. So, Zach, what is your favorite tool? And as always, our limit is 23.
Okay. Favorite tool. Okay. I don't know if this is cheating, but my eyes.
Ooh, that's a new one.
Okay.
We've had hands. We've had hands before.
Hands. Okay. I mean, that's also.
Yeah.
I think we're under the same philosophy there, but you have to. You got to, sort of know where you're going with it, with whatever it is, and trust that if you're octagoning a square, that you're hitting the marks right, and you can measure it all day with woodpecker calipers, but if it doesn't look good to the eye, then it's not right. So I think when it comes down to everything, that's like talking about proportions. It's like there are all these divider tricks you can do and numbers, and they're helpful as guides, but if it doesn't look good, then it's not good to you. And so I think it all starts with the eye.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that.
You
but I mean,
I just say you're wasn't Jeff one of the writers of By Hand and Eye?
Tolkien.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, Tolkien. I'm just thinking.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, you're correct. I don't care what fancy
George
tool
Walker
you have.
And, Jim Tolkien.
Yep.
I don't care what fancy tool you have. If it just doesn't look right to you, it just something seals off. It's not right. I don't care how fancy your tool was that told you. So
I think I've had enough students now that come up to me and they're like, "Does this look okay?" I'm like, "Does it look okay to you?" And they're like, "No, well, there's this gap here." And I'm like, "Okay, let's fix it." And then we're talking about our eyes first. And I have a deep prescription, but I still trust my eyes. But besides that, I mean, if we have limited 23,
right?
I probably, the one that's like, the top 2 that have always been the most enjoyable, and I always, I still feel like I weave between a box maker and a chair maker, but the draw knife spoke shave is just like, there's just something so pleasurable about using both of those tools.
Right.
And it's just can be so relaxing. So
do you have a favorite spoke shave?
Oh yeah. I think it's what everyone has, which is the Boggs Lee Nielsen, especially when I started making Boggs ladder backs, because I was like, oh, it's almost like these spoke shaves were made for these chairs.
And yes, they were.
And like, wow, the curved spoke shave works on every curve on this chair. That's crazy. I'm on the waiting list for.
Imagine that Brian Boggs was able to talk Lee Nielsen.
I know, right? I know, getting a nice cut from that, like that's great. Good for him. It's a perfect tool.
Yeah.
Because I've tried the Veritas. I know Chris Schwarz likes Veritas ones more, but I like that you can bang it on your shave horse and get that canted blade and get that. That grayscale of a cut. It's perfect. The curved one's good. And then I'm on the wait list for Caleb James cigar.
Oh, nice.
Shave.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And, do I need it? No. But it looks
good. The wood version or the metal version?
I'll get whatever comes out first. I don't care. Yeah. It doesn't have to be ebony because I don't need to spend $100 more. But I could see that, like, keep getting that blade nice and sharp for a finish on everything. I could see that being very friendly.
Yeah. I have his small round one that he made for a few years. And I've been looking at the box one and I'm going, do I really need it since I have the other small round one? I think the curve is almost the same.
I
So
have the same one. I
Okay.
think you're right. Yeah.
yeah. It's a bevel up. The small round one is a bevel up blade.
Okay.
Which is
Yeah.
kind of interesting. Yeah. So anyway, so I don't know about the cigar shave. I didn't look at it that closely because I go, that's almost the same. So I think I'm good. I do have a spoke shave problem that's morphed into a Travisher problem.
Oh, I tried I had a friend that got, Galbert's
Yep.
new Travisher,
Sure, yeah.
and it's nice. I mean, it's totally him, and you're like, oh, this kind of feels right.
Yes.
That's how I felt using it.
Yeah, that's cool. Cool.
All right. Okay. So question number 2 is, who has influenced you the most?
Okay, not to be too hokey, but definitely my students have to be number one, just by like the amount of people that have passed through, and showing someone dovetails for the first time and then they nail it, and you're like, wow, you're actually way better at this than I am. Is one
Humbling.
humbling and annoying simultaneously. It's a cocktail of emotion.
Yeah.
And but then they're like, oh, I tried this, then they get proficient in a different way, and they're like, oh, I tried it this way, and you're like, I'm gonna actually use that from now on. And there's certain techniques I've named after students, and their name lives on now. So I'm like, oh, I
Nice.
learned this from Noah. This is the Noah technique. And having different ways of doing that. So again, it's cliche, but you learn so much from teaching people. Like,
Yep.
it's so powerful. And when it comes to other makers, I mean, right when I was starting out, like Pekovich was huge to me, and his books were so easy to grasp those more challenging concepts. Like I'm really excited for his next book. I know he's working on it.
Yep.
And Tim Rousseau, who was the teacher at Center for Furniture Craftsmanship for years up in Maine, he's the way he's able to articulate certain lessons has been really big for me, and I think his designs are really sort of elegant and pulled back in a way I like. And Eshrick, like all the sculptural people, I'm always like jaw dropped by, because I just don't think like that. So I'm always, it just seems like so otherworldly to me when I see the sculptural wood, and I like envy it in a way where I'm like, I don't quite grasp it yet to do it, but looking at it is so influential in my, sort of functional furniture I make.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Some of that stuff's just amazing. And then when you see some of the weird and semi-dangerous mechanisms they made to actually make that furniture.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like I show my students this Maloof documentary, and I'm like, notice how many fingers he has. Let's just be clear about, and how he used the bandsaw. You will not use it like that.
Yes.
But he is very good at what he does.
Oh, yeah, I know the documentary you're talking about. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And it's good. It's a great documentary. But I was like, yeah, I don't see as many fingernails as I do knuckles. So,
yeah.
but
I gotta look this up.
It's actually I think it's like a PBS type documentary.
It's on YouTube. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
something like that. Yeah.
It's like an hour long. It's great.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had my student was like, I showed him, and I was like, he's interviewed in it the whole time, and I was like, he sounds like someone, but I can't put my finger on it. And they were like, he sounds like Bernie Sanders. And I'm like, oh my God, he does kind of sound like Bernie Sanders. It's funny.
I haven't heard that. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it.
Listen again. You won't unhear it now. And there's a sculptor I just saw an exhibit of. He's like 93. His name's Thaddeus Mosley, and it's again like Eshrick style, beautiful sculptural stuff. So I think he has an exhibit in New York right now, and he's been doing it for years and never tried to get recognition, never made it sort of a big deal out of his passion, and it's just really beautiful stuff.
Cool. I'll put a link in the show notes to that.
Sure.
Yeah, that would be cool. Well, Fantastic. Well, so what is your white whale? The one thing you haven't made yet, but have always wanted to.
I have this. I've had this dream since I was first started. That I collect cassette tapes of like music, and that's a niche thing.
See, when I was younger, I just bought them at the store, but that's
right. Yeah. Now I'm at the resale store, and then there's actually a lot of sort of smaller music labels that exclusively release on cassette now.
Oh, really? Yeah, I've heard it's the new vinyl.
It's sort of the thing, right? Yeah, because it's more affordable. It's easy to produce, and the whole thing. It doesn't last as long as vinyl, but everyone's got them from the '80s still, and they're lasting long enough.
Yeah.
And I probably have about 300 tapes on my wall, and it's. I also happen to like new age music, so a lot of new age was on cassette.
Right.
And so I've always had this. I have all these drawings of the sort of like bent laminations of like a rainbow of cassettes, right? Where like you can set it on a shelf where it's like 40 cassettes in a rainbow shape, or like a squiggle on a wall.
Oh,
so because they're always in these like old wine boxes that they cut up that have like nails and it's just rabbited. It's always kind of this junky thing, and I'm like, I think there's a certain group of people, a very small, that want that fancy cassette holder. So
that's a brilliant idea. I might
thank you. You're the first person to say that.
I might ought to just edit this out of the episode, because that is a brilliant idea. Because I mean, you get some of those audio files, and especially cassettes becoming popular, and you can make some money. Have you seen some
collectors?
Of those?
Yeah, they want to put their collections on nice things. Yeah, always.
Yeah, and I've seen some YouTube videos and heard about some folks that are making they make like the bases for like turntables, and basically it's MDF that's been veneered, and they're charging and they just they either make it for a company or they put the guts in there, and they're charging like outrageous money, tens of thousands of dollars.
Yep.
For these turntables.
So, that's what I'm excited next year to hope to like just play with laminations and see how that all comes together. Yeah,
that's a brilliant idea, especially for the cassette tapes. Yeah, I've heard they're making a comeback. Yes. So anyway, I remember my Walkman. You remember your Walkman, Brian?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I always remember I had a favorite pencil that I would use to rewind.
Oh yeah,
so you stick them in there. We're bringing back memories. Oh man.
There you go.
All right. Question 4. What is your number one tip for fellow woodworkers?
Probably, I might go back to number 1, where you have to trust your eyes. I mean, it all comes back to that. I mean, that's got to be the biggest piece of advice. Like, trust your eyes, and be open to the conversation always. Actually, there is something when I'm talking about design also. With my students, I have a PowerPoint and I play a video clip. There's a German director, Werner Herzog, and he made a bunch of movies and documentaries. Yeah. So, and he's a character unto himself. And there's a YouTube video of people asking him, what's your number one advice for filmmakers? And it's him over and over for like 4 minutes saying, read. And his advice was like, don't watch movies, read more books, read literature. And I would say the same for woodworking. Like, you're only going to get, I like YouTube. YouTube works for me, but you can't just rely on it. You have to read the books, and you read them over and over again. I mean, the amount of books now I've read a few times in woodworking, and that's how it's gotten ingrained. So,
I totally agree with you. And that's why I like Chris Wars' stuff, is because it is so fun to read. Not only getting good information, but he has his attitude, and his personality just comes through in the books,
right? Because he studied journalism first, right? So like you see that sort of like gonzo style in him, and it really, I mean, I read the whole stick chair book, the first edition, really big. And I've never made a stick chair. I don't really plan on it soon, but I was just like, I learned enough about chair making in general for it to absorb. And it's just funny because he's a funny guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that is something. Well, our last question. So, what is your go-to finish?
Go-to finish, fluctuates. Definitely, I prefer a wipe-on oil finish because it's the easiest for me, because it's the last thing you get to do to your piece, and you get to, when I was first at the school, we had like a lacquer spray. And we used to have access to this garage, and so I'd make this piece that took me months, and then the last thing I'm doing to it is putting a hazmat suit on and spraying it from 20 inches away, and I'm like, this is like the least sexy thing you can do. You're like in this moment, and so having that connection of touching it, I mean, it's and completely finishing it and still feeling the wood and remembering the imperfections and all that. It's like it's so poetic at the end still. So I've talked to the folks at Sutherland and Wells, and they sent us a ton of stuff. And that's a great finish.
Oh yeah,
they're so fantastic.
Kind. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons they're one of our sponsors. Or now they just sponsor the interview episode, but we will give them some love on all these other ones. Use the code MWA25 to get 10% off your first order. But besides that, no. But no, that's one of the reasons they reached out to us, because we were talking about them, because we used them. We had some guests on that recommended them, and we started using them, and so we started talking them because it's one of the best finishes. Low VOC. I still wear a respirator, even though you don't have to, but that's just me. You do you. But it's from what I read, it's perfectly harmless. But it's an easy finish to apply, and it looks fantastic.
So easy.
Yeah,
it goes deep.
Yeah,
and they sent us their paste wax, which has been it's like my favorite paste wax right now. It's like it's like you get the hard and soft wax, and it seems to be right in the middle. It's like right there in the middle there in it, and they call it like witchy wax. It's like, I love their branding. It's just like the whole thing is they send us shirts. I was like, I wear the shirt all the time. It's a cool shirt.
Yeah,
nice. We need shirts.
Nice. Yeah, we need shirts. Okay, we're gonna have they're gonna be on the podcast here in a week. So
nice.
We'll need to lobby them for shirts. Definitely.
Yeah. But and then my my other the other instructor, Mondo, he's the best I've ever seen at applying Osmo. And he just did it intuitively, where I liked it, but he just puts it on perfectly. You know what I mean? So it's like it's such a relationship with each finish you do.
Yeah.
And then can't ever go wrong with shellac, because that's also great.
Yeah, that's right. You always have to have that in your back pocket. Yeah. Well, fantastic. Well, so Zach, where can folks find you on the interwebs? Yeah,
you can. I got a website, friendofurniture.com. I'm on Instagram, friendo.furniture. And the Sam Buford website, you'll find me there with all my classes.
All right. Fantastic. Well, Zach, once again, thanks so much for joining us, and it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
And that just about wraps it up for this show. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the show on the podcatcher of your choice. Just search for the Modern Woodworkers Association. And while you're there, please leave us a review. You can follow us on Instagram at MWA_podcast. And if you'd like to support the podcast, go over to patreon.com/MWA podcast. But the best thing you can do is tell a friend. Word of mouth goes a long way in sharing our discussion.